What am I, a bulimic, chain-smoking stenographer from Staten Island? Because we watched Season 8, Episode 15, The Susie. So, Kathy, what did you think of the episode?
Hey, Sean. You really shook me with that. I don't know. I guess I liked it. I laughed. There were some parts that I recognized and enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of dragged on a little bit in some places, but, fine. How'd you like it?
Yeah, it was kind of fine.
Yeah. It was a fine episode.
I don't think anything was really cringy or terrible.
So it was good?
Yeah, I think maybe this episode didn't have like a peak. Like it didn't have its climaxing moment. Maybe that was that Kramer spinning into the ball?
I guess so.
So this episode was written by David Mandel. He has written other episodes like The Pool Boy and Bizarro Jerry. He did say that he felt as though this was his weakest episode that he wrote of Seinfeld.
Interesting.
It was directed by Andy Ackerman. It aired on February 13th, 1997. Screen Crush ranked it as the 161st best episode. Vulture.com didn't have it much better at 146, but IMDb had this as the 45th best Seinfeld episode with a 8.6 out of 10.
Wow. That's big.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it's because of the several memorable things that people have rated it so highly?
Maybe. I mean, you know, the name The Susie, you definitely like remember the main storyline.
Sure.
You might remember the George storyline.
Did you remember everything that was in this as we were watching it?
Yes.
Or beforehand?
100%.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's throw it back to last week when I asked you that very question.
Somebody keeps calling Elaine Susie.
Well?
I think I nailed it. I should say I didn't so much remember the reason why Kramer showed up to the ball.
Okay. I mean, we'll get into it, but that's, as usual, my least favorite storyline because it involves Kramer. But it gets muddy in the middle there. We'll talk about it.
Sure. So the guest stars. So we had a couple of guest stars returning, such as John O'Hurley reprising his role as Jay Peterman, and Lee Ehrenberg, played by Mike Moffat, playing Mike Moffat.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't remember Lee Ehrenberg being a character's name.
I got those. I transposed where I wrote John O'Hurley and Jay Peterman and Lee Ehrenberg and Mike Moffat in my notes. Anyways.
I couldn't remember halfway through this episode that guy's name was Mike Moffat. I thought it was Mickey or like it made zero impression on me.
They said it in the episode.
I know. And I immediately forgot.
Okay.
You know, they throw around names like
a thing you throw around, like a Frisbee.
Like Bob Sacamano. You know, they talk about so many people that you never see.
Sure. This is a character that we did see, though.
I do remember his face.
He was in an episode.
Maybe I just don't have name memory. I have face memory.
It's a little bit strange. Like, I guess the only reason that they brought this character back was the phony thing. So it was kind of like, it kind of could have been anyone.
It could have been anybody. It could have been any weird short man that Kramer's friends with.
Or just like an old friend. Like,
yeah.
I don't know, from the softball team.
Sure.
So some of the new guest stars that we had Shannon Kelly playing the role of Allison. She was, she did a bunch of voice work mostly. So she was a voice in the TV show Max Steel And she was in the Invisible Man TV series. And she was a voice in Batman Beyond. Have you seen any of the Batman Beyonds?
What's Batman Beyond?
It's a cartoon where, like...
Is that what is that the Batman I would have watched as a kid/teenager?
No, it came out when we were in university.
Then no.
It was Bruce Wayne is like an old man, and this like kid gets like a computerized bat suit.
No. What was the Batman that I'm thinking of?
The Batman animated series.
Oh, okay.
Which they have like brought back on Prime, and it's very good.
Oh. Wait, they're just showing it again, or they rebooted it?
They rebooted it.
Interesting.
And then Megan Cole played Peggy. Am I wrong in saying that she looks too old to be named Megan?
Yeah, you're not wrong.
So she had an arc on ER where she was in like a half a dozen episodes. She was on The Practice for a few episodes, and she was in an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Yes, I was just going to ask you, where is our Star Trek connection? Because I've started watching Deep Space Nine again.
You didn't watch it the first time. You watched part of the first episode and said, I don't like this.
Well, I'm now watching it again, or for the first time, and I really like it. So there. I just like saying Nana Visitor.
Nana Visitor is a good name. Do you have a synopsis?
I do. A coworker thinks Elaine's name is Susie, leading to various misunderstandings. Kramer's bookie friend can't pay when Jerry wins bets. I think Netflix was reaching here because every Seinfeld episode could include leading to various misunderstandings in the synopsis.
It's kind of redundant.
Yeah.
And if it didn't lead to a misunderstanding, it's probably not noteworthy enough to have in the synopsis. Elaine's coworker mistakenly calls her Susie, and it has absolutely no bearing on the episode. So people often mistakenly call you Kathy. Often?
Well,
sometimes.
They only do
Rarely.
it once, I'll tell you that.
So you correct them?
Yeah.
Always?
I'm not Kathy.
You've never let it slide?
Never.
Didn't you have somebody you went to school with and like they, even in your email and like in your reply in the email, they still were like, thanks, Kathy?
No, if people spell my name wrong, and then I'll spell their name hilariously wrong in my reply, and they don't
petty at all.
I've never claimed to not be petty. But no, I never let Kathy slide. Kathy is a personality that exists outside Catherine or Katie. And I think other Katies will agree. Like, you either are a Kathy or you're not. It's not a sometimes thing. I even think like Kathleen's are Kathleens or Kathys.
Not Kaths.
Catheter?
Whenever I hear Kath, I just think of catheter.
Do you Kath?
Kathin?
Catherine. I'm Catherine right now.
Kathin Cowboy.
Yeah. No. Never, ever, ever, ever. Kathy. People call you Sean.
I don't know how. I mean, the theory is from my last name. I don't know why. Like, whenever I am misnamed,
it's always Sean.
It's always Sean. Except there was one time where I was Cambodia. How did I meet those guys?
This is a story.
I was in Cambodia and I was hanging out with met these two guys, and we were like hanging out for like and drinking and everything. Like 2 weeks later, one of them came up to me and was just like, I'm going to ask you a really stupid question. Is your name Derek? I was like, yeah. And they were like, we've been calling you Cameron for 2 weeks.
Did you not notice them calling you Cam?
I honestly, I was like, I didn't clock it.
Were you that drunk?
So they were like, oh yeah, you know, like they would be like, oh, hey, Camo. And I was like, I thought that was like a, hey brother. Hey, like, I don't know.
Were you wearing camo?
One of them was English. One of them was from Australia. So it was like cultural differences abound.
Yeah. You weren't going to correct them. They gave you a nickname.
Maybe it was because I was wearing camouflage shorts.
Yeah.
Camo?
Yeah.
Camo? Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'm going to call you Cameron from now on and forever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised people spell your actual name wrong so much because your spelling is the normal one and the other one is weird.
The either double R-E-K or R-R-I-C-K just looks wrong to me.
Wait a minute. There's a double R-E-K?
Yeah.
Wow, that's even wronger.
Yeah. But not so wrong as confusing the name Elaine for Susie.
Suze.
So, David Mendel was inspired because when he was he was a writer at SNL, somebody mistakenly called him a name and like nobody else on the staff was called that. And he never corrected him for the entire time that he worked at SNL.
What's the name? Did he say?
He didn't say.
Oh.
Well, it wasn't in the notes that I found about this episode.
Someone once called me Aaron at work because there's another red-haired person named Aaron.
Oh, I mean, like, you redheads are hard to keep track of.
We could not look more different as pale redheads, let me tell you. She's about 4 feet tall, and I am 6 feet tall.
I feel like there's like 6 avatars for redheads that you kind of fit into. And there's like, obviously like subtle differences.
Sure.
But the base model is the same.
You just adjust, you do the height slider,
yeah,
the boob slider. Uh-huh. So the first scene of this episode is a unrelated throwaway scene with George and Elaine. George says, if I were a gigolo, how much do you think I could charge per night?
I think Elaine is pretty dirty with this low ball of $1. That's just mean.
Well, it's not an answer. She would not pay any money for George.
Mm.
If she had said,
the question though,
how much do you think I could charge, or how much? Well, no. Then he does ask her how much she would pay, because before that she goes, well, like here or in Japan, like they're much more, they see past superficial looks.
Mm-hmm.
Which I don't know if that's true, but then he asks, how much would you pay? Mm-hmm. Would he be less offended if she said $20? It's for the whole night.
I imagine there are several attractive prostitutes working that charge $20 a night.
No.
I'm sure there are.
If they're attractive, they're not going to charge $20 a night. That's a different. You're going to different stores. You're shopping at a different market here.
I'm sure you can find one.
You seem pretty certain about this.
You don't know how my negotiation skills. I can get a bargain out of anyone.
To break their thumbs first.
I saw an ad on Craigslist the other day where somebody was willing to exchange for a car battery. So, how much is a car battery?
More than $20. Wait a minute. Why were you on Craigslist looking for?
No, I wasn't. It was an ad from Craigslist that was like going around on social media.
Sure. I did like the first real scene where Kramer's walking with Jerry and he's complaining how dark it is. And Jerry's like, well, it's not daylight savings time yet.
I'm going ahead an hour.
I'm springing ahead right now. Well, what do they tell you? Oh, yeah. He was like, well, when is it? He goes, I don't know. They tell you like the day before.
I could not for the life of you tell you what day it happens. March 27th?
Well, they keep changing it.
Yeah,
that's one thing.
But like around then?
Didn't it used to be? So didn't the fallback used to be in like October?
Yeah, they did. I feel like they changed it recently.
And they moved it to November.
We gotta just get rid of this thing. Oh my god.
This is the stupidest.
Like,
yeah.
We have both a provincial election happening now and a federal one is on the horizon. Yeah.
Please, somebody.
Whatever candidate says, I'll do it. I don't care. You can do anything else.
Anything else?
Literally anything else.
So I'm volunteering for one of our candidates.
Yeah.
I should suggest a platform
Oh
initiative.
my God.
Make this happen. Make it the top line of your platform. No more daylight savings time ever.
Mm-hmm.
Guaranteed win. Who cares? Who cares if New York State doesn't change? Just change. Who cares?
It's all the Spider-Man meme. It's like, we'll all change if you'll all change.
Yeah.
It's very like middle school. You know? Well, I'd like to change, but if you don't want it, like, you know.
Oh, so we should tell the teacher. You tell the teacher.
I like daylight savings time, but if you don't like daylight saving time, then we don't have to do daylight savings time. Well, I also don't, but if you don't want to do daylight savings time, then we don't have to do daylight savings time.
It's very waspy. Somebody just has to take action.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll run for government on a single issue platform.
Like, I will get this bill through.
And then I will resign.
Immediately. I was trying to think of like another issue. Like daylight savings time and
nothing is as important. And nothing is as important. Nothing is as easy to do as this.
No more low flow toilets.
What, are you going to buy back people that's got low flow toilets?
Oh yeah, we'll do a buyback.
How much is it going to cost? I'm not paying for my neighbor's toilet to be replaced.
No, you aren't. The government will. That's how a buyback program.
Where does the government get the money, Derek?
From selling all of the toilets that they have bought back.
To who?
The people.
They're buying back low flow toilets.
Yeah.
Who are they going to sell them to?
Oh, they're not. No.
Okay, Cameron, let's keep it moving. So George has a pretty girlfriend. He's going to take her to the pinstripe ball.
Mm-hmm.
She's got a backless dress.
I know I'm jumping ahead. When I heard ball, I wasn't picturing this like dark.
Oh, yeah. I was going to look up
restaurant.
Tavern on the Green.
Yeah.
It seemed kind of like old and dank. I was expecting a ballroom.
Yeah. You got to have vaulted ceilings for a ballroom. I
did like a hand motion of vaulted ceilings.
People can't watch us do the podcast, Kathy.
Should we always do a video podcast?
I'm going live on Twitch right now. I'll put it in the Discord.
Yeah. I know Tavern on the Green is a real place. I'm sure this isn't the real place, but it was like a cramped golf course clubhouse.
Yeah. Very
disappointing. Yeah.
It was almost like as bad as going from like a tall, lithe blonde to a horse-faced, lanky doofus.
Yeah, exactly like that. So she tells George they need to talk.
Yeah. And he tells her he's out of soda, leaves, doesn't come back for the rest of the night.
If she can't find me, she can't break up with me.
There is a little bit of truth in this. This is like, is this the anti-ghosting?
I was going to say nowadays she would just double down and never try to contact him again.
I mean, it's a little bit hard to figure out the like rotating cast of people that these characters are dating and like how established the relationship is with them. But this is like he is avoiding her so that the relationship continues. Mm-hmm. Whereas like nowadays people avoid people so that the relationship just
He ends. Only really wants to continue the relationship until the ball.
Yes.
That's all he cares about. In a less funny universe, he could just tell her that. Be like, okay, fine, we can break up. Just go to the ball with me. Episode over.
When a woman makes a ball entrance, she twirls.
So I liked Elaine's line, backless. You gonna back her in?
Beep, 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 beep.
So I want to know about Elaine's acquaintance Sharon, who later she calls some pom-pom waving backseat bimbo.
Elaine's backstory is kind of weird to me. Because they've both established that she didn't grow up in New York State, but she also has all of these like friends from Long Island.
I thought the Long Island friends were like college friends, maybe. That was my impression.
Maybe. We need a Seinfeld reboot, Elaine Bennett's backstory. Move into the big city.
Who would play Elaine? What actress today would play Elaine? Young Elaine. I don't know any actresses today. I challenge you to name one.
Brie Larson.
She's too old.
You just said an actress. Name an actress today.
We're casting.
She's an actress today. She just started her debut in West End Theater. She's
who cares? She's too old.
Yeah, I know. I was like, okay, so you need like a young 20s actress,
or like a teenager who's going to college. That Moonface kid from the Zombie Show.
Moonface kid from the Zombie Show.
That's the only young person I know.
Jenny Ortega?
No. Although she would make a good Elaine.
Yeah.
But I also think she's actually too old, but she could probably play younger.
Yeah. Moonface kid from the Zombie Show.
I told you I'm not good with names.
What zombie show?
With Pedro Pascal.
No, I don't think so.
What? With Nick Offerman?
No. Pedro Pascal.
Okay.
I was refuting your suggestion that they could play Elaine.
Agreed, but that is the only young actress that I know.
Ellie Fanning?
No, that is a different person.
That is a different person. I'm just throwing out suggestions here.
Oh my God. I think Elle Fanning is in her 30s, by the way. Anyway,
she could play young 20s.
We're several minutes into this episode now. I did I wouldn't say I liked, but when George says the line, if she can't find me, she can't break up with me, he clips on separate round sunglasses.
Yeah. Are these a real thing? Like, I think I've seen like a single unit you can put on regular glasses.
But also,
would you ever put on one sunglass?
Like, freaking, what is it? Bonnie and Clyde? He's got like one sunglass. It feels like a Roger Rabbit villain.
Oh, the
kind
judge?
Of thing.
Yeah.
Did he have one sunglass or real sunglasses?
I think he had real sunglasses.
Okay.
I think they might have been safety glasses, but.
So the part I got really excited about, as soon as George started eating popcorn on his couch, I knew it was coming. It's our theme song.
Do you usually put a theme song at the end of the thing that you're
It's our closing credit theme.
You now know it.
Now I know it. It's been 3 years of this podcast.
Mm-hmm. It's a Seinfeld thing.
I like that we got to hear it twice. And then Jerry sings
Jerry
it later.
hums it because it's in his head. Yep.
Jerry's got, he can carry a tune.
Mm-hmm. So apparently, this was one of the writers, their real life friend, had this as their answering machine. And so they brought it in. And then they got Jason Alexander to record it. And his first take, he's a very good singer. And it sounded too good that it wasn't funny.
Yeah.
And so they were like, we have to do another take and sing bad.
Yeah.
That's also what I did when I sang the first.
Their credit song?
Yeah.
I did like when George heard her message. She said, call me at the office. And he picks up the phone and calls her at home. Says, yes, I missed you.
Very conniving.
Mm-hmm. You know, everyone breaks up at Pomodoro.
Why would George agree to go to Pomodoro with...
I don't know. This is where it starts to get lazy and mushy for me. Why did he go to Pomodoro with Kramer? So Kramer says to Allison, is that her name?
Yeah.
When he goes to ask her for another basketball ticket, that George is always visiting the guy across the hall. So I was expecting her to come over and confront George at Jerry's apartment. But instead, George and Kramer go out to dinner at Pomodoro. So it makes no sense.
I wonder if it's like trying to be a little bit of a switcheroo. Like you expect her to go over there and then Kramer. Would have been good if like she convinced Kramer, like, oh, you can have more courtside tickets, but you got to do this for me.
Yeah, it's missing something.
We didn't talk about Kramer's courtside shenanigans. Okay, fine.
I honestly was barely listening when he was talking. That's a bad sign. Speaking of everyone breaking up at Pomodoro, were you watching the other couples in the restaurant?
Yeah.
Did you notice that the man behind George at the end of this scene is mopping his coat like he got a drink thrown on him?
Oh, yeah.
And the woman's not there?
Good background actors.
There were some good Jerry moments when... Thank you. When Mike comes to his apartment.
You should have seen... Wish we were filming this, because you look like Carolyn from The Traitors there. With how the confused, trying to like grab a name out of your last brain cell. You scrunched up your mouth and looked up towards the heavens.
And you answered my prayer. What even are we doing here? What is happening?
The reverse, like, bookie, Jerry's being like the goon to the bookie. There was a scene though where Mike comes to Jerry's apartment after he's broken his thumbs. They do the kind of cast reveal. How did Mike get dressed and get this jacket on over those casts?
Maybe it's got like buttons up to the middle of the elbow.
No, I don't know.
But he says, I have $100 in my front pocket. And Jerry goes, I don't want it that way. And I liked confused Jerry when George and Kramer are having this rendezvous after a breakup in his doorway. And he's like, I didn't see you guys together. But the rendezvous, like the dialogue, I know what's happening. But it still doesn't make sense. But logically, George. Oh no! And
logically,
Kramer,
all of this falls apart.
Yeah, so it is, like usually there's some thread, but there's no thread here. It's threadbare.
I do think if you thought your, in my case, girlfriend was going to break up with you, and she told your friend, and he took you out for dinner and broke up with you, the next time you saw that friend, it would be awkward.
Okay, so. Again, Mike is in the trunk. Well, he's trying to fix Jerry's trunk. It starts to rain, so he like gets in to get out of the rain, I guess. Keep his cast out of the rain.
I think he was like trying to get like a good angle on like something underneath, and then drop like a screwdriver.
And Kramer bumps the car. The trunk lid closes. I mean, it's fixed now. But we see him in the trunk, and the trunk release handle is right in front of his face. Yeah,
I know. We should probably Google 96 sobs to see if they have a trunk release or not. I think trunk releases are a more recent invention than that.
Really?
Yeah.
Like 2000s?
Yeah.
Huh.
It took us a long time to figure out that sometimes people get stuck in trunks.
Well, whatever that was hanging down, I think it was a trunk release. I feel like they missed an opportunity. I know the script was already written, but like for him to try to do it.
Bare paws and he can't get it. He can't, sure.
Whatever. And then Jerry and Elaine are driving. They're talking about getting rid of Susie.
Yeah, who we haven't really talked about how Elaine's coworker misnamed her. Okay, Elaine's coworker misnamed her.
That's it. She didn't correct her, and a series of misunderstandings follow.
The scene in the office with Peggy Peterman and Suze Lane, I think that was good, and like
the way Elaine handled it. Yeah.
This realization that like maybe she can like weave her way around using names and convince both of them that she is two different people.
This is a Susie and Elaine problem.
Who should fix that?
Elaine and
Susie and Elaine. Elaine and Susie.
Yeah. Anyway, they're in the car and they're joking about killing off Susie to simplify Elaine's life. And
you laughed very hard at this scene.
The scene where Jerry's laughing maniacally and there's a funny bumper sticker. Can no one drive in New York? Peterman bumps Jerry's car.
Do you remember, was it when we were in New York or maybe when I was in Boston, I saw for the first time, like, people would park on the street and they would get out and they would put these like bumper guards that you like half put into your trunk and then close the trunk and it like keeps it and it covers your bumper so that if somebody like
Is that what that piece of leather hanging out of people's cars sometimes?
Yeah, maybe.
I thought that was like a taxi thing to not scrape up the car as you're like hauling bags in and out.
Oh, I don't know.
But maybe it's for parking. Because you're supposed to like bump up.
You're not supposed to bump up. Your car is never supposed to touch another car.
I know that.
Ideally.
But why do these things exist?
Because people are bad drivers. And they try to jam their way into spaces they can't fit. So I was going to say they off Elaine. So they off Susie. And then they have a funeral.
Big turnout.
And Elaine gets up and has to give a eulogy, which she apparently didn't realize and has nothing prepared.
I did like how she sat right down in front of Peggy. Peggy goes, Susie. She goes, no, I'm Elaine. And Peggy says, I've been calling you Susie. She goes, I didn't notice.
That's all she had to do at the start.
Yeah, exactly. And then Peterman comes up and rescues Elaine and invents this night of passion with Susie. But then I think comically sells himself short because he goes, and it was pretty good.
It was all right. And then we have Kramer meeting up with George.
Spinning tuxedo, whatever. I did laugh when he said it's a rental, but I've had it for 15 years.
He had a really cool bow tie.
Yeah.
It was like black, but also rainbow.
Like our old car.
No, that was blue.
Okay. And the episode ends on a spinning Elaine screaming into the air.
It's an homage to Star Trek.
It is.
Also, well, it's an homage to George doing this in an earlier episode, which was an homage to Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan.
Ugh.
It's a very famous movie.
Which I have not seen.
Very famous. I think you have seen it. Remember we were watching all of the Star Trek movies?
Sure.
See, I wrote Khan.
You spelled it wrong.
No, that's how you spell it in Star Trek.
No, you're wrong.
It's a misprint.
I have some corrections.
Okay.
So the kid we both recognize from the scholarship interviews.
Oh, yeah.
He was credited, his character name was Lomez Jr. It was never said. But it was played by David Moscow. He was in Big as the young kid.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
He was in Newsies. He was one of the people in Zoe Duncan, Jack and Jane.
I don't know what that is.
I've heard of that show. Never seen it. He was in Honey and Legally Blonde. So we've seen his face all over.
Sure.
Oh, yeah. I was trying to find a connection between the Van Buren boys and Shallow Hal because of this, girlfriend that no one likes thing that was going on. So I asked ChatGPT, and it gave me a very confident answer that was 100% not true.
Yeah.
But I've never seen it be so wrong about something. Because it goes, oh yeah, the connection between Shallow Hal and this episode is that Peter Farrelly directed them both. I was like, Andy Ackerman directed this episode. So I wrote back, I'm like, that's not true. It's like, you got me. I was wrong about that. And so there's no connection.
So the engineers go to their bosses and they're like, hey, we made this thing that is loud and confident. And the managers say, and it's right too. And they're like, it's loud and it's confident. And then the managers say, we'll integrate it into everything.
Yeah. So Martin Van Buren
Yeah.
the 8th president of the United States, spoke Dutch as his first language.
Oh.
We asked if he owned slaves. He had a complicated history with slavery, which I got bored reading about. So a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
A little bit of slavery, a little bit of not slavery.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
But he actually made okay a word in the English language.
Oh.
Because his nickname was Old Kettering or some bullshit. And so he would like put his nickname initials on stuff. And so he'd just write okay on things. And then it became the word for yes, this is fine.
Wow. Wait, hang on. Did ChatGPT tell you this?
No, Wikipedia told me that.
Wow, what a great etymological lesson.
Yep.
Worked out with a dumbbell today.
Hey, next week we have the pothole.
Yeah.
What's it about?
There's a pothole in the street.
Mm-hmm.
George loses his keys in the pothole.
How big is it?
How big is the pothole?
Yeah.
Big enough that he had to jump over it.
Okay.
I think this is. I'm somewhat interested to see this episode because this is an episode that is often cited when complaining about the Netflix edit.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah.
Well, bye.
Bye-bye. Believe it or not, this is our podcast. Please subscribe at the end. If you subscribed, we would be happy. Please subscribe to us. Believe it or not, it's our podcast.
Is that a Seinfeld reference?